February 27, 2025. The course of the war has caused significant damage to cities. Areas of intense conflict, such as Vovchansk, are suffering greatly in terms of both infrastructure and civilians. In the footage, a lone Russian infantryman walking through the city stands out. Ukrainian forces observe him for a while and analyze his movements. When the Russian soldier stops at a specific point, Ukrainian forces drop a bomb on him. The force of the explosion knocks the Russian soldier to the ground, and in a panic, he attempts to flee. However, due to injuries or loss of balance caused by the explosion, he falls again. Ukrainian forces, not giving him a chance to escape, drop a second bomb. After the second explosion, the life of the Russian infantryman is ended, and the operation is successfully completed. These types of attacks once again demonstrate the effectiveness of Ukraine's advanced drone operations on the battlefield and their success in neutralizing even individual enemy units. Ukrainian artillery systematically destroys Russian trenches and bunkers, causing significant devastation in the area. The attacks are carried out with the aim of breaking through Russian defense lines and facilitating progress in the region. During the operation, enemy mortar positions are also detected and neutralized. This results in Russian forces losing their artillery support and severely weakening their defense capabilities. Russian infantry in the trenches are killed as a result of intense bombardment and drone attacks. Ukrainian forces successfully complete the operation by breaking all resistance in the area, inflicting heavy losses on Russian forces. February 20th, 2025. Ukrainian forces successfully destroyed a Russian armored vehicle in the Donetsk region. After the attack, most of the Russian personnel in the vehicle were neutralized, but one soldier managed to survive. However, this soldier, severely wounded, was motionless right next to the vehicle. A Ukrainian UAV operator detected the injured soldier and quickly launched an attack. A bomb was dropped on the soldier, and the explosion further injured him, completely limiting his mobility. Noticing that the soldier was still alive, the Ukrainian operator launched a second attack. A second bomb was dropped directly on the target, and with a powerful explosion, the life of the Russian infantryman was ended. This operation once again demonstrated how Ukrainian forces act swiftly and effectively, not giving the enemy any opportunity. February 27, 2025. The UAV operators of the Black Swan unit, part of the 225th Assault Regiment, detected a group of Russian infantry in the Kharkiv region. These units were engaged in an ongoing conflict with Ukrainian infantry in the area. However, the Russian soldiers were unaware of the UAV observing them from above. After confirming the enemy positions, Ukrainian forces waited for the right moment to strike. A three-man Ukrainian infantry team carefully advanced through the trenches and began to observe the positions of the Russian forces. Tension was high on the battlefield, as both sides tried to anticipate each other's movements. The Ukrainian soldiers focused on a Russian infantryman positioned at a strategic point to initiate the first attack. Once the target was confirmed, as the FPV drone approaches the soldier, following a powerful explosion, the Russian infantryman was severely injured. Ukrainian forces opened fire to ensure the conflict ended quickly, completely neutralizing the enemy. This attack drew the attention of other Russian units stationed in the area. Russian soldiers, rushing to the location of their fallen comrades, prepared to launch a counterattack. As they advanced toward the Ukrainian positions, unaware of the imminent danger, they were again targeted by a UAV strike. At that moment, the Ukrainian UAV operator dropped a second bomb. The explosion targeted a location where multiple Russian infantrymen were present, causing significant damage. Russian soldiers in the area were forced to flee due to the intensity of the attack, with some attempting to escape quickly. However, UAV operators continued to track the enemy forces and targeted those trying to flee. Though the footage doesn't clearly show further clashes with other Russian soldiers, according to reports, all Russian infantry were neutralized. Ukrainian forces gained full control of the area, and the operation was successfully completed. Operations like these continue to demonstrate how Ukraine's advanced drone technology enhances battlefield effectiveness. Russian forces remain under tremendous pressure, both on the ground and from airborne threats. March 1st, 2025. The 8th Special Forces Regiment achieved a notable success in their operation against Russian forces north of the village of Lozova in the Kharkiv region. Following intense prior attacks, Russian infantry had been severely weakened and were now trying to advance on foot. Many soldiers sought shelter in forested areas to survive, but these hideouts provided no safe escape, as Ukrainian forces were tracking every step with drones, leaving no Russian soldier the chance to flee. The drones tracked each Russian infantryman and their shelters, successfully detecting them step by step. FPV drone operators meticulously planned each strike, targeting and destroying every position held by the Russian forces. Many Russian soldiers, exhausted, were either sleeping or attempting to advance through open terrain, but these vulnerable moments offered them no mercy. In both cases, Ukrainian operators' precise drone strikes neutralized the Russian infantry. The FPV operators carried out these operations with extreme caution and strategic precision. The drones approached enemy targets slowly and carefully, engaging them from close range with explosions to neutralize them. Thanks to these highly precise operations, Ukrainian forces managed to repel Russian attacks. While most Russian soldiers attempted to hide in the forested areas, some continued to advance through the open terrain. However, none survived, as the Ukrainian drone support left them no escape route. By the end of the operation, all Russian infantry and their shelters were neutralized. March 1st, 2025. The 12th Azov Special Forces Brigade gained attention with its operation in the village of Cherybivka, Donetsk region. According to intelligence received about the area, Russian forces were identified as being stationed in this village. Ukrainian forces cautiously advanced toward the region, systematically identifying and destroying all areas where Russian soldiers could be hiding. One of the main strategies in such operations is for Ukrainian forces to immediately take action in suspected areas and carry out quick, effective attacks when they encounter the enemy. As soon as they sense the presence of enemy soldiers, Ukrainian forces launch a grenade attack. After the explosion creates heavy smoke and confusion, Ukrainian soldiers immediately open fire, neutralizing enemy targets. This tactic forces Russian forces to become trapped in confined spaces, making them unresponsive. The grenades and subsequent gunfire were enough to completely neutralize the Russian soldiers in the area. Russian troops attempting to hide had no chance, as they were continuously pressured. At the end of the operation, all Russian infantry in Cherybivka were neutralized. Ukrainian forces successfully eliminated all Russian presence in the village by clearing every hiding spot in the area during the operation. March 1st, 2025. The Bravo Team, Sumy Defense Unit, and the Hornet Unit achieved great success in a joint raid against Russian positions in the Donetsk region. Initially, Ukrainian forces launched the operation using a drone placed in the position. The drone approached the target and dropped a bomb for the first attack. The explosion resulted in the death of a Russian soldier. After the explosion, Ukrainian forces quickly moved on to the second strike. This time, another bomb was dropped targeting other Russian soldiers in the position. The second explosion neutralized most of the Russian soldiers in the area. After swiftly completing the operation, Ukrainian forces moved toward other Russian positions. Following the clearance of the first position, Ukrainian infantry systematically advanced toward the second position. The Ukrainian soldiers, positioned sequentially, launched a series of attacks against the Russian forces. As a result of the clashes, many Russian soldiers were killed. However, one Russian soldier managed to escape the area and quickly fled. Ukrainian forces continued to track the fleeing soldier using drones. The Russian soldier moved toward a forested area, but this movement made his escape more difficult. Taking advantage of the situation, the Ukrainian FPV operator dropped a bomb on the fleeing Russian infantryman. The explosion resulted in the death of the Russian soldier. March 1st, 2025. The 79th Air Assault Brigade of the Ukrainian Armed Forces drew attention with its successful operation in the Mykolaiv region. The conflict began when Russian forces attempted to enter the region in convoy. Ukrainian forces launched quick and effective attacks targeting the Russians, destroying every Russian unit in the convoy one by one. Although the footage was compiled, making it difficult to examine every detail of the attacks, the results of the operation clearly show that Ukraine achieved a significant success. As a result of the attacks, a large number of Russian soldiers and equipment were neutralized. Tanks, infantry fighting vehicles, armored vehicles, motorcycles, and infantry were among the targets destroyed by Ukrainian forces. Another key report indicates that the Russians have increasingly been using more equipment. This suggests that Russian forces are resorting to more heavy vehicles and equipment in an effort to gain an advantage over Ukraine. However, Ukraine's coordinated and effective operations make it difficult for the Russian use of this equipment to become a lasting advantage. With Ukraine's airstrikes and artillery support, this operation delivered a significant blow to Russian activity in the region. March 1st, 2025. The Naval Brigade identified 2 Russian T-90 tanks to the west of Nadivka village in the Donetsk region. Ukrainian forces closely monitored the tanks, waiting for the right moment to attack. Once the tanks slowed down, Ukrainian forces quickly launched an artillery strike. Although it is not possible to see the direct destruction of the tanks in the footage, reports indicate that after the artillery attack, 2 Russian T-90 tanks were neutralized by FPV drones. The T-90 tank is one of Russia's most advanced main battle tanks, frequently used in the Ukraine war. A modernized version of the Soviet T-72, the T-90 stands out for its advanced armor, powerful weapon systems, and modern electronic equipment. However, in the conflict in Ukraine, the weaknesses of these tanks have become clear. The Ukrainian military has successfully destroyed many T-90 tanks using American-made Javelin anti-tank missiles, British NLAW systems, and Turkish Bayraktar TB2 drones. Although the T-90's Contact 5 or Relect reactive armor provides protection against some attacks, it can be easily penetrated by modern anti-tank missiles. Furthermore, one of the tank's biggest weaknesses is its Soviet-style ammunition storage system. Since ammunition is stored close to the turret, a hit can cause the tank to explode along with the crew. This is a common issue with Russian tanks and has led to significant losses of T-90s on the battlefield. Thanks to guerrilla tactics and technological superiority, Ukrainian forces have been very successful in neutralizing T-90 tanks. In urban warfare and rural areas, well-positioned Ukrainian forces use drone reconnaissance and sudden attacks to target Russian tanks. The scale of Russia's tank losses has become so significant that the Moscow government has become reluctant to deploy its modern tanks to the front lines. March 1st, 2025. Drones from the 60th Mechanized Brigade detected Russian soldiers on foot in the Terny region of Donetsk. Ukrainian FPV operators first dropped a bomb on the Russian infantry moving along a path. The explosion caused the Russian soldier to flee quickly, but as he searched for cover, the Ukrainian FPV operator dropped another bomb, continuing the attack. Despite the second explosion, the Russian soldier managed to survive and escape. The fleeing Russian soldier eventually hid in a bush, but it was likely that he was injured and would not be able to escape for long. Ukrainian forces launched another attack using drones, hitting the target with precision and neutralizing the Russian soldier. Other Russian infantry in the area were identified in different locations in the forest and were hunted down one by one using drones. This operation demonstrates how effectively Ukraine uses UAVs and FPV drones for target tracking and elimination, showing their ability to monitor and tactically eliminate enemy forces over extended periods. February 22, 2025. Ukrainian drone operators spotted a North Korean soldier in the Kursk region. The soldier was checking his weapon while also scanning the sky, aware that he was alone in an open area and constantly under threat of being targeted by drones. As the soldier scanned the sky, it was clear that he felt the psychological pressure of being vulnerable to drone strikes. The role of drones in warfare is not just to target, but also to apply psychological pressure by continuously tracking the enemy. Soldiers live under the constant fear of being detected and struck by a drone, which negatively impacts their psychology. Indeed, at that moment, the Ukrainian UAV operator noticed that the North Korean soldier was being tracked by a drone. The operator carefully timed the strike, accurately identified the target, and launched an attack, neutralizing the soldier. The explosion resulted in the soldier falling to the ground, and the target was no longer alive. This attack highlights how drones can be effective not only in physical combat, but also in psychological warfare. Soldiers moving in open areas live under constant surveillance, which creates immense pressure and can lead them to make mistakes. February 25, 2025. Primus fighters from the 1st Assault Battalion detected 2 Russian infantrymen during a reconnaissance operation. Ukrainian forces quickly mobilized and launched an attack against the Russian soldiers. The Russian soldiers attempted to flee upon noticing the approaching drone, but despite their escape efforts, Ukrainian forces effectively intervened. The explosion resulted in the death of 1 Russian soldier, while the other attempted to escape wounded. However, Ukrainian forces prevented the escape and continued the attack, hitting the target with precision and causing further casualties. In the footage following this initial attack, other Russian infantry units in different areas are hunted down one by drones and neutralized. Ukrainian forces, aiming to gain full control of the region, also identify and effectively destroy armored vehicles and shelters. This operation demonstrates how Ukraine applies strong pressure on both infantry and armored targets through the rapid and effective use of drones. Drones serve as an essential tool for high-precision target detection and elimination, making it difficult for enemy forces to maneuver and forcing them to retreat. February 26, 2025. The following footage has a profound impact on the mercy and humanitarian aspects of the war. Ukrainian forces detect a Russian soldier in the region. The soldier is wounded, yet aware of the approaching drone. Interestingly, the Russian soldier attempts to negotiate by indicating that the approaching drone would not pose a threat. Ukrainian forces, observing this, decide not to attack and instead follow the soldier for a while. However, after a period of time, the Russian soldier suddenly stops and begins shooting directly at the drone. As a result of the attack, the Ukrainian drone is destroyed. This incident highlights how moments of mercy in war can still be uncertain and dangerous. Ukrainian forces, having recorded the soldier's face, decide to track him for the purpose of retaliation. This dramatic situation serves as a reminder of how challenging and unpredictable the humanitarian aspects of war can be. The decisions made between mercy and strategic choices in life and death situations can profoundly affect the course of the war and individual lives. This event underscores the complexity of war's physical, psychological, and moral dimensions.